Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's broadcast of the Blue Otter League Gold Season 11. I'm Becky Rita, here tonight on the cast with the one and only, the boss man, the bully. Welcome. How
Yeah,
how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. It's gonna be a good one today, as we got two pretty, I say, big contenders for the title early on in the season, Hyperion and REV Eternal. I think we might actually see a third game on this one.
Ooh, third game? What? So far, I haven't checked the match history, but I presume that the stream matches, if this week it could be our first three-game series, then the other stream matches from the past 2 weeks might not have gone that far.
Yeah,
And that is...
I think, what was it? I think we've been the 3 games twice this week.
Oh, this week,
So,
yeah.
yeah, this week on stream matches. Maybe this will be a third.
We'll have to see. Let's see. It's very exciting for sure. No matter what it is, what kind of league, it's always fun to get a three-game series. Even though we are going to be very tired at the end of it. Just, all things considered. But hey, that's what we are here for. So, as you said, we have our two teams tonight. Waiting for them to get into draft. They are not there yet.
This
Then
game,
we'll be able to get started.
Who do you think is gonna be like the lane to watch in this one?
The lane to watch? It's an interesting question. So, I will say I've not watched these teams play. I have skimmed their OPGGs, checked the match histories. What I'm interested in taking a look at, and I think this is just kind of a general thing, especially at lower levels of play. I want to see how the junglers do. I think that the meta as it is, jungle really determines a lot of the game. And in terms of getting tempo going, getting people rolling into the actual later stages of the game, jungle just always feels incredibly vital. So I'm interested to see how these two junglers match up against each other, especially because by the looks of it, it could be a bit of a mismatch in the jungle.
Yeah, I definitely know Ziggy. Ziggy took like a little bit off actual league for like a season. But he's definitely a pretty strong jungler. Dino has been playing on Rev for quite a while. I know he loves. I think pretty sure he likes to play the stylish jungle. I have criticized him in the past. But he does have his moments to shine and moments you kind of want to just like kind of forget that for the rest of your life.
Yep.
We'll see what kind of Dino shows up because in this match you're gonna have to show up pretty big if you want to take down the Hyperion team.
Yeah, you said that the Hyperion team was looking pretty massive this season, so we'll have to see what these teams can do. Here in the draft, we have started it with kind of an odd group of friends at a house party for our first round of bans. The Hecarim, Anivia, Syndra, Acel. Looks like a lot of mid lane bans taken away from Eternal. And the Gragas got nerfed on this patch. We are on 14.6. I believe. So, a nerfed Gragas, but interesting B1.
Yeah, taking a little bit of power from Gragas. Still can become a monster. The big thing is, like you pointed out, 3 bans going over to Leper Koopa. So they're definitely wanting to make sure they have as much priority mid as possible. But taking the Varus as a response to the B1 Gragas.
Yeah, Varus getting picked up here. A pretty stable ADC, I would say, right now. Especially since you'll notice that a little lizard has not been banned or picked yet, and that is because Smolder was taken out back. They did punt him across the football field. He's seen better days. He
I'm
got pretty
actually,
heavily nerfed.
yeah, I'm actually surprised we're not seeing like a Jinx priority pick at any point.
Hmm.
It's definitely seems extremely strong this patch. I know it's heavily picked right now, um, but so far no bans towards it, no early picks towards it. And we're getting up the Jax Zyra pick on Rev. Hyperion with their R3 pick. Let's see what they decide to do.
Yeah,
Tarek.
they're gonna be. Ooh, I love the Tarek with the Xin Zhao. It gives Xin Zhao even more survivability as he's able to just stick onto people because he's got his Crescent Guard to take care of anybody out of range. And once that goes down, the Cosmic Radiance can land, and Xin gets even more time to just soak up damage. I think it's a pretty decent combo. Um, we'll have to see how it performs. It's been a while since I've seen Tarek, but and it's maybe not great into Zyra. Zyra just kind of destroys you in lane, and it's really miserable. So we'll have to
Yeah,
see how
it's
the Tarek performs.
yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. Zyra is like one of the best counter engage type champions, so Xin Zhao might just decide to cry. Going into a Jax Zyra Gragas, very difficult to play. The Taric is going to add some survivability, especially if the Jax gets ahead, and you're trying to protect your Varus, your mid laner, whoever. Um, but so far, Hyperion has just kind of one play so far, and is to kind of look for picks with the Varus ultimate or like Xin Zhao going in first. But it's a dangerous play going to these three champions on Rev's side.
Yeah, it's going to be dangerous. We'll have to see what they decide to do with their uh with their fourth pick here for the team. The Gragas and Jax are still pretty flexible. Generally, you've seen Jax go into the jungle. Generally, you see Gragas go into the top lane, maybe the jungle. I have seen some Gragas mid recently, and speaking of talking a bit about some nerf champions, Gragas ate a nerf, Smolder ate a nerf, which is why I presumably we haven't seen him, and Karma as well. Got maybe not necessarily a nerf, but definitely an adjustment. She is weaker in the mid lane, which it looks like she is going to be going there this game. So hopefully Hyperion has a plan to make that work. The Annie will come out as the response to the Karma, which is interesting. I
Yeah,
certainly a stable pick. So I think at this point it's
yeah,
just 80 carry.
yeah. The big reason why Karma actually came out in pro play, and just overall being a champion in the pro scene, is because of the Ari picks coming out. It's just a very good response,
Mhm.
and so we're gonna see Annie this game. But against a Karma, it's kind of weird. But I do have a slight problem with Hyperion's comp is that they're looking for a lot of like disengage type of potential, but I don't see a lot of damage on their side. They
Yeah,
have like a lot of
and
burst, a lot of sustained damage.
I would say that Talia doesn't necessarily round it out in terms of the damage you're looking for. Because what wait, hold up. Wait a minute. I just took a look at these 5 champions again. And now I'm wondering who
It's a
is
Talia jungle.
top
Wait,
lane.
wait a minute.
Yeah, I know, right? Something fishy's
Oh, it's
going
Karma
on
top.
here. Oh yeah,
It's Karma
Indigo
top.
placed that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be a Karma top. It's gonna be Talia mid. Zooms out jungle.
Zinzajin. Okay. Mystery solved. I guess it is Karma top into whoever they decide to send up there. Likely the Gragas. I can't imagine you'd want to send Jax into Karma. That doesn't sound like a fun time for Jax. Uh, Honestly, not really a fun time for Gragas either, but it's better than Jax into the ranged mage there. So yeah, both these teams finished building their compositions. Uh, Kind of certainly fascinating, I would say. Some interesting choices here. Um, Looking at the drafts right now, which team would you favor going into this game one here?
I feel like Rev's comp is just much easier to play. Um, Hyperion's comp is all over the place. They're going to be
Hmm.
mostly just looking for just quick picks and just scattered team fights. But if they get caught by a Tibbers or an Ash Crystal Arrow, or if the Jax just ends up getting fed, who's going to just mash the Jax? Absolutely no one. It's going to be very, very difficult in these side lanes to keep up with the power of this Rev comp. And even if they just try to create an engaged mid, there's so much disengaged potential from Rev that it just might Hyperion might just bleed out slowly.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that kind of look here in terms of dealing with split. If Jax is the one on the split, uh, what I like to kind of analyze in terms of figuring out if a split is going to be successful is how do the 4v4s match up? So, presumably we send, one of Karma or Talia up to deal with the Jax split, just clear waves forever. But I think I do like the 4v4 of Ash, Zyra, Annie, and presumably the Gragas because they just can't touch people. There's just they can't get caught as long as they are positioning well and playing far enough back. There's not really a whole lot that Hyperion has to both close the gap and actually kill them. It is certainly concerning, I would say, but I do think there are good tools that Hyperion has. They have the Varus ulti. They do have strong burst with the Varus and the Talia. So if those two champions can kind of line their abilities together, we could see one of these squishy players like the Ash or the Annie get exploded. So it's not like they don't have tools to succeed, but it's definitely very difficult for them to succeed. Whereas Rev has sort of built themselves a very stable composition that can keep Hyperion at arm's reach.
A lot of this game is going to depend on, I think, Ziggy, how well they could manage the early game with the Xin Zhao pick. If they're able to create a small lead for the lanes, able to start getting priority over these neutral objectives, and not letting Rev take an inch from this game or get a little bit too far into like probably 25 to 30 minutes, I think Hyperion could just snowball a small lead into a victory, but they got to make sure they play a little bit aggressive early game because they can't just stagnate and just try to win by team fighting alone, in my opinion.
No, they are going to have to play aggressively because they just don't have, especially later in the game, they aren't going to have the tools to deal with just how much CC Rev has to prevent them from playing the game. Rev will eventually be able to buy as much time as they need to allow Jax to destroy a side lane. So hopefully we do see some aggression from Hyperion this game. And hopefully we see a pretty good match between these two teams. So, we're going to go to a quick break for the spectator delay. Stick around. We'll have the first game of our series between Eternal Rev and Hyperion Gaming coming at you after a break. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first game of the series between REV Eternal and Hyperion Esports. I'm Becky. Joining me on the Rift here is Bully, and clicking all the buttons is Owls. So we noticed some interesting, suspicious choices here for Keenstones here as we were getting things set up. We were kind of theorizing exactly what this karma is going to be doing in this game, and but judging by the Airy, it doesn't look good. Anything else you noticed?
Yeah, I mean, bot lane on Moonlight, you'd expect a Guardian pick here. You don't really like the Glacial. I don't think it's gonna have a lot of value in lane or in just like in the game overall. Mainly because how are you gonna walk up to the Zyra and Ashe bot lane? You can't, and you're just gonna
No.
get poked at consistently if you try to go for any kind of play.
Yeah, that is certainly going to be concerning. Uh, Tarek has a lot of trouble closing the gap, getting close to people, especially in lane. Uh, the jungler can come help with that, as he can, get the stuns off of Ziggy, but that is assuming that Xin Zhao wants to try and help the Varus out, which I guess who else are you ganking? You're not gonna gank for Karma, that's for sure. So I suppose like that's the way they do it, but for right now, it's gonna be pretty rough for Moonlight in this lane, and we already see Moonlight having to eat an HP potion already, just
Yeah.
from the stray poke at level 1 from Zyra and Ashe.
One of the stars of this Rev team is going to be Billy Badass, as both top laners hit level 2, but I don't expect anything major to happen, just a little bit of poke battle. But Billy Badass is the player I say you have to watch on this roster, because they could be 100% 1v9, but in the mid lane, we just see them consistently trading blows.
Yeah, back and forth trades here. In for a while, Annie's gonna have I imagine, a little bit of trouble just controlling the waves. Once she gets all of her abilities and she's more able to start, threatening things with her stun, but we could have the gank right here. Ziggy's gonna be looking to get the wind become lightning, holding on to that. The slow's gonna land. Bunch of slows are gonna go down in the leper, but the flash is gonna get blown and will stay alive.
Yeah, just immediate flash right there. You might have not needed a flash. You had the stun up, I believe. And you could have walked out, but just to make sure that they survive in the lane, they just wanted to not give up first blood.
Yeah, I think they might have been concerned about just the stun ending it, because Xin did hold on to the wind becomes lightning, so there was going to be some additional follow up and slows, and maybe Zin's able to get that knock up super quick. Jax is going to try and get a return gank onto Indigo, but Indigo is far enough back. The waves have reset, so Dino is just going to have to look to try and get this scuttle here. Ziggy is around, but not gonna see Dino there. They will find him. Indigo is gonna be walking to the scuttle here. Gonna get the root down. Ziggy looking to potentially engage. Does have the double buff, while Dino does not have a red buff right now. In the bot lane, we do have Root coming down on the Moonlight. Looking to try and get something here. Trying to walk away is more like it. The Q is going to come out from the Zyra. Billy Badass going to get first blood, but return fire from Attila is going to get the 1-for-1. Stuns up from both sides as first blood gets taken in the bot lane.
Yeah, so that was an aggressive play by Moonlight, and they lost their life for it. I think Billy Badass autoed a minion when they could have killed off Moonlight, and maybe they could have got out with the flash, but instead that slight delay caused them to go 1-for-1 trade. But they still do go positive as they got their first blood.
Yeah, and I would say that the wave right now is maybe a bit sketchy. I feel like Billy Badass will have the better ability to control it, as Attila's almost certainly going to have to recall here to just get some HP back, because he is very low and no potions in tow either. And Moonlight is nowhere to be seen, so this Tarek is roamed up, but not doing a whole lot with it.
Moonlight took a very early roam to the grubs, and should be a very easy dive play. If you're Dino, you just go for this bot lane. You push Attila off the wave. You can force them to go back, or you could kill. If Attila goes back, they lose 3 waves of CS XP. That lane is over if that happens. Instead, Dino decides to go for the dragon, which I see a lot of people in gold, platinum, even emerald do, where they just say, "Oh, we can just take neutral objectives as, the terrorists roaming top," but that's an easy kill. You could take this ADC out of the game immediately.
Yeah, you got to consider, like, the dragon's not going anywhere. Like, it's still gonna be there, guys. Going to get this kill on to Attila and send him into the Shadow Realm, put him so far behind that he's basically not a champion, that is, like you said, it's way more worthwhile than going for the early Drake. Obviously, it's still fine to get this early objective, but Dragon, it'll wait for you. Don't worry. You'll still have time to go get it. And once you have your bot lane freed up, they don't have anybody to fight in lane. They can go and help you and take it faster. So it's just a matter of decision making there. I suppose this is the riskier play if they don't feel confident with their ability to dive. Attila did still have Flash and Cleanse at the time, I believe, so it would be a little rough. I will say Attila is level 6 right now from Moonlight making that early roam, so the Varus ulti is going to be down if they decide to use it for a potential gank down here.
Yeah, but that early roam did cost them, as Attila's down 20 CS, down a crap ton of gold, about 500, so a pretty decent item advantage going over to Billy Badass in his bot lane. And we saw Moonlight getting poked out quite heavily early game, and I don't think that's going to stop. So it's any kind of hard engage by Moonlight, you're going to get punished, even probably lose their life for it.
Yeah, so they will certainly have to be careful. Once this Ashe Zyra hits level 6, they will almost certainly be able to just try and destroy Attila. And without the Cosmic Radiance coming down, there really isn't a whole lot that Moonlight can do to stop it. And honestly, Moonlight's pretty squishy right now, too. Only has that Ruby Crystal in terms of defensiveness. Taric kind of forced to go the Tear of the Goddess just because of how mana hungry the champion is. He does not really function without Tear, so having to hold on to that item will sort of prevent the Taric from getting tankier earlier, as Booter Scooch gonna have the plant say hello to Dion.
Yeah, and at the top side, we do see Madness actually staying somewhat even in CS. It is like a very annoying lane to play as Gragas, but obviously you expect Indigo to heavily push out Madness, but Madness staying pretty healthy, getting the CS, and it's going to become a kind of a menace later on with this Gragas pick, in my opinion. We have a Taric ult coming to the ground, and you just have a barrel on top
Zyra
of it.
ulti is available. It's going to be dropped right now, and that's going to be Attila on their lonesome right here. They do still have the ulti, but they're going to burn it. But here comes the exhaust. Going to get cleansed, but a little too late. That is going to be Attila and Moonlight taken down in a clean 2-0.
Yep, and a lot of that was, you pointed it out, Moonlight does not have any combat powers, very under-leveled because of that early roam. Couldn't really get off anything, and this guy exploded. Now Billy Badass is sitting at 2-1. Attila goes down, loses more CS at the tower, more plates going over to Billy Badass, and not only do you have to worry about this Ashe, but you gotta remember that Zyra does a shit ton of damage.
Yeah, no, supports right now are incredibly strong. These support items are extremely good, and Zyra is one of the big beneficiaries of how strong these support items are. So even early on right here with just the Haunting guys and the CDR boots, Zyra's going to be able to pump out quite a surprising amount of damage into these targets, especially before they have MR. But we've got to fight here. Lepercoup is going to have to flash, is holding on to the stun, going to stun up Ziggy. The Crescent Guard's going to go down. Here comes the dive in from Dino, but it's not going to be a dive that will go cleanly. And now on the back of the fight, Moonlight's going to land a stun. Lepercoup is going to go down here. Booter Scooter is going to try and do what they can, but they're going to get booped and scooted. They're going to have to flash away here, but Indigo is going to be around. Indigo, however, is dealing with Madness. Booter Scooch is gonna just inevitably die here. They're gonna give it over to Indigo, not giving any more gold to Dione there than needed, and that fight certainly went sideways.
And I think the main reason why it went sideways is I believe Dino used the Counter Strike on the red buff, so they did not have it when they had they
Ooh.
needed it most. So they went down without getting the kill on the Ziggy. And if the Counter Strike was available, Ziggy goes down, Dino gets out. That fight is won, and the Grubs will 100% went to Rev without any contest.
Yeah,
But
the Grubs are looking for a fight right now. So is Ziggy. Ziggy gonna get a couple of hits on the Leper Koopa, but it's not gonna be enough. Ziggy will go down first here as the Grubs continue to go into the pocket of Dino. Tarek is approaching. Indigo still waiting around, but it's a 4v3 that they likely don't want to take. Indigo just looking to see if they can't get that steal there, but it's going to be a 3 Grubbins going over to Dino there, so that's a 3 for 3. And no dragon taken in response, so Dino can look to get this objective advantage if they decide to head down to this next Rick.
yeah, but they got to remember they do have to face against a very strong Ashe. Tarek is going to be headed back down to bot lane. Is actually going to try to clear out some vision in the meantime. But if this 2v2 in the bot side goes south yet again, this dragon should be in the hands of Rev.
Oh, that's definitely Hyperion.
Yeah, almost certainly. Rev just need to kind of make sure they have their pieces in place to get that, but looks like Talia does have the Weaver's Wall, is hovering around, will get spotted on Vision. Was thinking about going for a lockup on to that bot side. Billy Badass did still have Flash, but Booter Scooch had basically nothing. Back in the top side, we get a look at how this matchup is going, and it is very much, the waves get shoved in, Madness clears the wave gets shoved in, Madness clears the wave gets shoved in. Malignance will be picked up by Indigo right here. One of Karma's huge items. Again, a lot of nerfs came down onto Karma in the last patch, especially on her Q. She is a lot more mana hungry than she was prior to the current patch. So we'll have to see if that ends up causing a problem for the Karma later in the game. However, this first item, especially over Madness here, is going to be pretty big, although the Rod of Ages will be finished. A lot of healing to deal with the poke from Karma so they can stay in top lane for all eternity, as there's going to be a little bit of a setup around Drake here.
Rev has a huge advantage in this fight. Even if Talia joins this fight, Talia's items versus Leper Koopa's items, there's no way that Seraphs can...
Ooh, Enchanted Crystal Arrow is going to be landing on to the Talia. She's going to be taken down first. TP is going to be coming in from Karma, but it's going to be coming in a little too late. She'll come and land, but she only doesn't have anything in her pocket. Cosmic Radiance will give some invulnerability to the Varus and the Karma, but they're going to have to exhaust. They're going to have to run away. Karma giving a bit of speed to Attila, but that speed is going to be cut down to size by the Ranger's focus and the auto attacks of the... As Billy Badass picks up a couple of big ones for themselves, and the team picks up the second Drake of the game as the Chem Tech plants bloom here on the Rift. Huge win for Rev.
Yeah, there's no way that Hyperion could actually contest that because the item difference. You had a full item on the Ashe. You had a better item at mid lane. This Talia has to kind of ramp up a little bit in this game to match how much damage Annie has. And on the flip side, Billy Badass just decides to use the arrow, hits 2, and they were able to take a fight immediately. And that was a 4v5. That was a odd man fight for Rev, and they just swept the floor with Hyperion.
There's 4 captures. I'm not that
Yeah,
stupid.
I will say that was a very heads-up Enchanted Crystal era from Billy Badass to get started there, and basically because of that Enchanted Crystal Arrow, even though the TP came in, it was 4v4, I would say. And, I mean, what's Karma doing on the TP? What does Karma have? What is her big button that she hits to help you turn a fight? She kind of doesn't have one. Even though she has good buttons.
A lot of fight potential right there was going to be Ziggy with this Xin Zhao pick, but they've fallen actually behind in this game, and Billy Badass decides to 1v2 right now.
Yeah, the volley is gonna absolutely pierce the heart of Moonlight, and Attila will go down as well. They try and get some pressure on the turret, and they're going to get punished for it. Now Indigo is going to be under fire a little bit here. Booter Scooch up in the top side. Ghost will get popped. Tibbers dropped in the mid lane onto Dion. We'll just wall ride out of that one as a 1v2 goes in favor of Billy. Ash is a menace if you aren't prepared to deal with it.
And a lot of that comes back to the early roam from Moonlight. It just put Attila so far behind, it put Moonlight super behind on levels, and it gave an early advantage to Billy Badass and Buddha Scooch, and they did not waste that opportunity, as Billy Badass can now just sit in a lane by themselves, probably 1v3 at this point, and they're going to allow Buddha Scooch to roam around and be a menace on the other side of the map.
Yeah, and that is absolutely what the Zyra wants to do right now. Has that Zazat heart, or whatever the item's called. I know it's got a fun name, but I've not actually played support on the new season, so I don't know I don't remember the names.
Zazat's Realm Spike.
The Realm Spike, incredible name right there. And the Leandries. So this Zyra, you talked about Zyra doing 1 million damage for a support. She's already there. She's functionally full build. She doesn't need any more items. They're just kind of like, help. She's not going to complain if she gets them, but at this point right now, she is as strong as she needs to be, so she is going to be looking to just start tipping the scales of the rest of these lanes in favor of Rev, because Billy Badass does not need the help. If anything, Billy Badass just needs the levels.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Buddha Scooch has the second most damage in the game behind Billy Badass in game 1 after the 2 items completed. The big thing, though, is Billy Badass does have a target on their back, because that's a 700 gold bounty that you really want to get if you want to make a comeback in this game. 2 dragons down, 5k gold down. You trying to get some kind of gold back. Billy Badass is one way to do it.
Yeah, and we see right now that he's certainly playing very aggressive. He knows how strong he is, so he's not exactly that threatened by anybody on Hyperion right now. So they can certainly look to make the most of that. If they get a good angle onto Billy and he walks up a bit too far forward, he could get punished and lose that 700 gold over to the Varus, which will certainly be a huge bunny here. Here comes the bear drop. Cosmic Radiance is going to land, but it's not going to do a whole lot. Booter Scooch going to get first blood right here. Attila's going to be kiting back. The Talia shove will shove away the threats right now, but Billy has landed the volley, landed the damage with the ghost, turning Attila into a ghost, now dominating the Rift right now as the Herald gets dropped, and 2 kills go over to Rev.
Yeah, Hyperion tried to get priority in the mid lane, but they overstayed their welcome a little too much. It got immediately flashed on by Leper Koopa, and now the mid lane turret's going to be under siege, as this gold lead is going to explode into now 7k. Third dragon's going to be taken on top of that, and if you're Hyperion, you just like, what do we do now? Your early game assurance of Xin Zhao just fell way too far behind. Now your ADC, which is going to be your highest DPS champion in this comp, is super far behind. You just don't have enough damage in this comp to try to put forth a small comeback.
Yeah, no, that's something we were talking about in the draft, right? We talked about how little damage Hyperion is assembled, but they may be looking to get some damage on the Madness right here. Madness trying to get out. The knockback from the big barrel blast is only going to get Ziggy a little bit of some airtime there, but here comes the Enchanted Crystal Arrow landing on to the Karma. She'll just get shredded right there. Indigo and Tarek both dropping as Billy Badass is godlike on the Rift. Ziggy finding themselves a safe spot to recall. They dropped the ward. Ooh, Billy Badass going to be flashing forward with the volley. There's going to be not a lot of return fire here. No fear, no hesitation. You see your target and you kill them. Billy Badass, legendary this game.
To be fair, probably not the best use case of the flash.
No,
but
it's about sending a message.
They're gonna just go for the Baron with that kill. Until we'll be up in 13 seconds, but with how much damage both Billy Badass and Dino does at this point with their items, it should go down without any contest. But if there was a play for Ziggy to make, it's here. Taking this Baron.
Yeah, the plant is up. They're going to be going in. They're going to be dropping the Crescent Guard. 14 on the... Ooh. That was a very well-timed smite from Dino, lining up that damage with presumably the Gragas Q, or maybe one of Annie's spells, to just clean that one up. I mean, I guess Jax himself with the Empower probably does enough punch to...
I think Ziggy has actually smited that. I think that...
Oh, Ziggy smited first?
I think Ziggy smited first on that one, and it barely missed.
Ah, I see. Okay, because it went from 15 to 0, so I just assumed that there was some big burst damage coming through, but maybe it could have been that, you know, they both clicked smite at the same time, and Ziggy just clicked it first. So the Baron does go over to Dino, lose the 50-50 flip, but honestly, there wasn't really a whole lot else you could hope for in this game as the siege begins on to the turrets of Hyperion, and they're gonna be in a lot of danger.
To be fair, for how well Rev has been playing this game, that 50-50 flip was actually not needed at all. They could have just, you know, got whatever they needed, get the pick, and made sure that they secured the Baron 100%. Instead, they took that 50% chance, which a lot of times can just be the opening of just losing a massive goal lead.
Yeah, or at least giving Hyperion the time to stabilize. So it was a risk that didn't need to be taken. So you can criticize that. However,
oh no.
Oh, there's a lot more to be concerned about as the Bear's gonna go for a ride by the Blast Plant. Billy Badass will look to get some aggression right here. Indigo's on the backside, trying to get some damage onto Dino right now. Ziggy taking a ton of punishment. The Hawkshot will go to give some vision, but nobody's still there. Indigo very low right now. Dione is in a bit of an aggressive position. They're just trying to get these minions down, trying to get some kind of pressure here. Billy Badass very lacking in fear as they just continue to step up to this turret without any frontlining going on here. They have nothing to fear, but we'll have to see if they can hold on to that. They decide to walk away.
Yeah, so Hyperion actually able to defend their tier 2 tower and forcing Rev to take a back. And you know, a lot of times you see teams give up that tier 2 tower because it's a lot easier to defend an inhibitor tower, but Hyperion actually did a pretty decent job. They chunked out Rev to the point where it's like, we can't do this anymore, and they're just going to end up playing for that soul that's going to be coming up in about 45 seconds.
And they've got first move. They're almost certainly going to grab that. Trying to get some objective bounties here, but Madness will just slide on in to take out those minions. Vision control, river control, currently in the hands of Rev. Dino stepping up a little bit, could be getting rooted. Tilla gonna be firing there. Tarek has arrived. TP on both Madness and Dione if they want to try and get there, but it's gonna be a hard TP for Talia to do. Here comes the TP from the Gragas, but he's not really in a flank position. He's just arriving to the fight. As Dione walks in, Dragon roars, will take position in the pit as both these teams stand off.
There was a nasty flank ward placed in the top side of the blue jungle that I wish Madness decided to take, but he takes a safer position in this fight.
Ooh, Weaver Wall's gonna go down. The Cosmic Radiance is good right here now, too. We're gonna have the Tarek walking in, taking a ton of damage right now. HP bars are low. Gragas is gonna get a ton of burst right there. Attila's gonna get the shutdown. Dino's gonna fire back onto Moonlight, but the HP bars are still in favor, but now they are not. Ziggy will get exhausted, get blasted. So low, a valiant effort, but just not enough damage to close any of those kills as Billy Badass cleans up the fight.
That was almost like a best case scenario fight for Hyperion, but they're so far behind in gold where if they were down by like 3k or 4k, that's a winning team fight for them. But unfortunately, they could not clean up the very low health bars of Rev, and they lose the soul. They're now going to lose their bot side tier 2 tower, and this gold lead is not going to be around 10k And all Rev really needs to do now is just, cross the T's, dot the I's, and kill the Nexus to win this game 1.
Yeah, no need to play a little too aggressive here, but Billy Badass,
Oh no!
will not be able to escape the audacious charge. A bit of an audacious move from Billy Badass there, getting punished. 1,000 gold going over to Ziggy as they continue to aggress further. Stun's gonna not land onto anyone. Mistimed abilities. Unfortunately, if you fire your W as Q is in the air, W is going to be the one that has the stun proc go off, so nobody gets stunned there. And Leper Koopa will decide to give over another handout to Hyperion to make this game a little more exciting.
Yeah, and that's 200. I think he has 2,000 gold in his pockets right now, so he's gonna be able to finish another item. And Billy Badass has been playing pretty aggressive all game. Hasn't really been punished. That time gets heavily punished as 1,000 gold goes over the pocket to Ziggy. But is that too little, too late? It's still an 8k gold lead, or a 7k now, so it's something. And
Yeah,
from
it's
last team fight, who knows?
Yeah, the last team fight certainly looked good, but I think you could say it was a best of all possible worlds, how that last team fight shook out. But that was a really good Cosmic Radiance in the last fight. Moonlight had good timing with that. Ziggy had some good frontlining going on there too, so we'll see if we could have a repeat of the Miracle fight. Dion does still have TP, is going to be looking to get that TP, but there are no good wards to go to. They're going to be forced back. Indigo not able to get close. Ziggy's going to be forced back by Dino, but Dino's not in the pit anymore. That's just going to be a secured Baron, but now the fight's going to have to try and be won here. The Cosmic Radiance denying so much damage, but Billy Badass has arrived. The Zyra ulti will knock them all up. The plants are furious here, and so is Tibbers, as the entirety of Hyperion gets sent back to base. Attila licking their wounds, walking away. It's all on the Varus here. No flash, no ulti, only cleanse. 1v3.
Did Dean go over the wall?
Yes, Dino went over. That was the most insane thing. Like, you see Dino over the wall and
you're Ziggy.
Stop the
jungler from getting in. Let's stop him.
Who do we send? We send the jungler. That absolutely should have been an angle where Ziggy goes in and steals it, but it was secured, so game 1 will get picked up by REV.
Yeah, what a crazy first game. And, at the back end of that fight, it looked like Dino and Madness were going to go down pretty quickly, but Hyperion did not have enough damage to clean up that fight. Otherwise, they would have got a couple kills in return without losing their entire team, but it does end as a REV victory in game 1.
Yeah, and you were correct. Zyra did have second most damage in the game after the I'm sorry, White Poro? Wait, huh? What's yeah? Oh, client names. I love League of Legends. So yeah. Was a lot of Zyra damage coming out. Certainly a good performance from Billy Badass, I would say. Very strong. That bot lane duo in general just made the most of this classic bot lane as old as time right here of the Zyra Ashe, making the most of their strengths and just completely removing the Varus and Taric as obstacles in the game.
Yeah, there's something called roam timers, and it didn't feel like Hyperion actually had the roam timer at 2 minutes in the game, because that's exactly when I think Taric kind of went to the grubs. They wanted to take the grubs extremely early on, and that just lost in the bot lane because Attila couldn't stay in lane. They kept on getting poked out. They lost a lot of CS, and eventually just got bled out bot lane. You didn't really have an AD carry, which you really needed to play for your bot lane this game if you're Hyperion, because that's going to be the majority of your damage late game.
Yeah, certainly something to consider as they go into game 2, how they want to sort of utilize their jungler more effectively and maybe hopefully get themselves better lane matchups, so it's not as doomed as quickly as it was in game 1 here. But we'll have to see what they do in draft in game 2. We'll go to a quick break, and when we come back, we'll we'll see that draft. So stick around. The excitement will be coming at you after the break. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our draft for Game 2 here between Hyperion Gaming and REV Eternal. The Michigan Mitten managed to get Game 1 over Hyperion off the back of a very powerful bot lane. Now Hyperion are back in have gone back to the drawing board and are now going to figure out what they need to do to adjust their Game 2 game plan. Right now, it looks like they're sticking to their guns in terms of banning out Leper Koopa. So we'll see if that decides to stay.
Oh.
Okay, we have
Interesting.
decided Yakes was the problem.
Out of all the picks right there that this caused a lot of problems, the Jax did not come to mind on that game. Dean definitely tried his best to give up that last Barret, but Hyperion didn't want it. But the Ashe first picked, saw the power of Ashe last game as Billy Badass went bonkers on it. So B1, not bad. I want to see Billy Badass actually play Jinx.
Yeah, we'll have to see if Billy Badass decides to go for it. Like you said, in the first draft, it's a very strong pick. Saw it a lot in Emerald on Monday. And have been seeing it a lot in general in the Emerald Draft League. So,
wait,
it's not.
That was like before the patch.
Yeah, that was before the patch. It was kind of seen as like the second best thing outside of Smolder. If you still want to have hyper
Senna was a thing.
Senna was around, and Senna was picked as well. Both to reasonable amounts of success. The Anivia, which was banned away from Leper Koopa, will get picked up. So we'll have to see how the Anivia does into the Ahri, which is certainly more promising, I will say, in terms of a mid lane matchup. I think Ahri's just a good champion right now, so very safe, very solid, can't really complain.
Yep, and Hyperion's going to take a page out of REV's, maybe. Let's see if they locked it.
They're thinking about it.
They're thinking about it.
I mean, it might as well, as long as they have a good plan to get a frontline going, and they will opt into the less interesting option, but still a very good option with a lot of good buttons. That is the Seraphine, and the Tahm Kench will get locked in, presumably as Senna's lane partner.
Yeah, I mean, with Senna's nerves to farming Senna, it's pretty difficult to get stacks if you're going to try to farm as a Senna. So we're going to probably see a fasting Senna this game. Tahm Kench was one of the OG fasting Senna picks, and especially against an Ashe who, if Ashe lands a crystal arrow on anybody, Tahm Kench should just eat up that target, and you just go trade ultimate for ultimate, but in reality you get a better trade out of it because that's one of the big engage tools gone for Hyperion.
Yeah, speaking of engage tools being gone, the Malphites will be banned away from Eternal here. The two junglers getting taken away from the jungler of Hyperion, so that is certainly who they are targeting right now between the jungler and top laner. They feel more confident taking on that top laner, especially because they can still get the blind. They can still get the counter pick for top lane as and you can send Tahm Kench up there. If it looks like a good matchup, you can get a different support, send Tahm Kench top. It's not not something that they have to necessarily worry about. Two top laners getting banned away from Hyperion.
Here's a Silas pick.
Yeah, it's possible.
Lee Sin.
Ooh, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've seen Lee Sin.
That's gonna be spicy, either a good way or a bad way. All experience spiciness in a bad way and a good way.
When you're in a gold league and you see Lee Sin picked, you start like rubbing your hands together. It's like we're gonna either see the greatest Lee Sin of all time, or we are going to get a good show. Of a showing that maybe we won't want to remember.
Nocturne.
Oh, thank God. I was going to start vomiting if it was actually a Nocturne lock, and that champ is terrible.
Hey!
I love
Nocturne.
I love Nocturne. Nocturne's also great with Seraphine. But the champion is just like so useless.
Hey, no, Nocturne is not useless. Are you kidding me?
He
That
does.
champion gets so much lane control because the fact that you could be halfway across the map and show up in an instant and have just straight
Also,
CC onto a champion.
speaking of somebody who can appear from halfway across a lane, it's Zac. This is going to be a Zac jungle, not a, obviously, because Urgot's not going jungle. Champion's not going to do that. So Urgot top is going to be their blind, so we'll have to see what Rev does to respond to that. There are some good options. That is certainly one of them. Yeah, Poppy's pretty good into Urgot, I would say.
Yeah,
For
Poppy's
a lot of,
a really good pick here.
yeah, it's very, I would say a very good draft from Eternal once again, but Hyperion has put together a really good.
Mine's Lee Sin. I would put that out
Look,
there.
Lee Sin's funny. Lee Sin could be literally any other like 80 bruiser. He doesn't need to be Lee Sin, but the rest of the composition looks really good.
Oh, 100%.
And I will say Hyperion, however, has put together a really solid comp as well.
They definitely put together a comp that has a lot of pick potential with the Ahri Ashe. One main thing, as someone that plays a lot of Ahri, playing into Anivia is really, really annoying because the fact that Anivia has Egg has the ability to just hard wave clear, and Ahri doesn't have a ton of kill potential on Anivia because how far Anivia can stand back or trade heavily into you if you kind of go a little bit too aggressive. Bot lane, you got the Tomkin Senna, and not unlike last game where you're playing a, the Ashe and Zyra, you get the Ashe Seraphine here, and they're gonna do a lot of damage to this Tom Kench.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Now Tom is gonna be he's gonna be struggling for sure, at least early on. And once he starts getting some of that money and getting some of those resistances, it'll be a little bit easier, but in the early stages of the game, he is gonna get punished in a lot of the same ways that we saw Tarek get punished last game. So we'll have to see what the Tom Kench for Rev can do to sort of survive the onslaught. I think that there are a lot of really good buttons Hyperion has. They've assembled a team fight composition with Urgot, I guess.
I
so
expect Lee Sin to be down bot like a lot.
The entire game, yes.
Yeah, mostly because of how much follow-up you do have with a Tomkin Senna and how squishy Ashe Seraphine really is. So, a big thing that Hyperion needs to do is make sure that bot lane is just lit up, because you do not want to fall behind in his lane against a Senna, because we've seen how Senna carries game late, and we saw how Billy Badass did last game. So you do not want to give any kind of advantage to Billy Badass, or you might just lose the game just because of one person.
Yeah, for sure. So, here in game 2, looking at these two compositions, which one do you favor taking this game?
I'm going to take Rev on this one.
Okay.
I think Ziggy does very well with hard engaged champions with like a lot of DPS, like bruiserish damage. Zac does fall under kind of like a tank that does a lot of damage as well. But there's a reason why they ended up banning him on these champions, because those are high play kind of champions, while Zac can be very, very much pushed away against a Nivea and a Poppy.
Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to point out. Yeah, they banned Ziggy in this game, and Zac does a lot of what you want him to do in terms of getting that engaged, but it is certainly rough, because you can get stopped by a Nivea Q, you can get stopped by Senna's root, you can get stopped by Lee Sin kicking you back away.
Nivea wall.
A Nivea wall, if she places it in the right spot, it can at least be annoying. And don't even forget Poppy.
You could disrupt Zac jump if you place it while he's in the midair.
Oh, I thought he kept going. All right,
you could displace him.
And so there are a lot of tools actually that make Zac's life a lot harder. So I don't think Hyperion is. This isn't like last game where I felt Hyperion's composition was completely no hope if they don't get a good early game, but it's certainly still, I would say, in favor of Rev. Looking at it, I like that Hyperion has big, good buttons. Good buttons tend to win the game if they are used properly. So, with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, Ari going in, being able to do her thing, the Encore, Zax's Encore plus Zax's engage range really gives them a lot of CC to work with. So we'll have to see what these two teams can do. If Hyperion's team fight composition allows them to fight their way to a 3-game series, or if Rev will use the power of the Lee Sin kicks to get themselves a 2-game series in an early night. So, stick around, we'll see the results of the game as they play out live, coming at you after the break. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our series between Hyperion Gaming and Rev Eternal here in the Blue Water League Gold Division. I'm
Yeah.
Becky Rita, Bullies on the cast as well, and we have a Zach who could be discovered here, but probably not a whole lot of fire being thrown, mostly because Anivia is a
I see,
Cryo Phoenix.
I see
Uh,
what you I see what you did there, but yeah, definitely a better look, I'd say, coming out from Hyperion, just comp wise. A lot more damage, a lot more CC, a lot more everything. So I feel like they'll fare a little bit better in this game.
Yeah, they'll certainly fare better as long as they can play it out more safely, utilize their tools better this game. For right now, a pretty standard start here. Aside from the aggressive ward to figure out where Ziggy was starting, so they will know that the Zac is on bot side. Not that that's like a huge, shocking surprise. Wow, the guy who clears multi-unit camps very quickly is starting on the side of the map with the multi-unit camps. Incredible. Uh, so it will give them a bit of info that Dino can potentially use. One of Zach's big weaknesses is his early game and his fights, and Lee Sin is pretty good at skirmishing and does have the Conqueror to do so. So maybe Dino will have some funky gaming happening. It's looking to double buff right now. Gonna be getting an early gank for sure.
Yeah. Something that to point out is it's actually going to be Billy Badass on the Tom Kench and Buddha Scooch on the Senna.
That's interesting. That's
Maybe Billy doesn't like playing Senna. Who knows?
I can respect that. I like Senna. I like playing Senna, but I understand, maybe Booter Scooch has more practice on it. Maybe, once Ash got removed from play, it's like, I don't want to be a range champion anymore. I want to be a catfish. So, we now have, I guess, we'll see what Billy Badass can do on the Thomas Kench.
I mean, look at the CS difference already. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, there's a massive wave crashing in the turret, but still, Billy Badass had to burn all their pods already, taking a lot of damage. It's going to pick up a little bit of CS, but it's not going to get any better.
Yeah, for a while it's going to be really rough for Tom. Once he gets his gray health and he can get some of that extra regen back, that'll be nice. Once he gets any of his tank items, he'll feel a little bit better about himself, but until then, he is just going to be eating every single Seraphine Q. And he's just going to have to like it.
I do think it was kind of wild that Billy Badass didn't opt to take the gray health like second. The Abyssal Dive is not going to do much, but Dino might get...
Ooh, Dino!
Oh my god!
His mind was telling him no, but his body was telling him yes. And Dion was like, why? Picked up that first blood off of the Lee Sin. There we go. Lee Sin, baby.
Mean, Dino's out, but it was like, no, I'm going back in. In what world you know that Leper Koopa is not going to roam there. Even if they do, it's the very early on Anivia. They're not going to do much besides give like one burst combo. But now you intit double buffs to the RE. It's going to get a little bit more difficult mid. Priority is going to go, oh no, Billy Badass.
Oh no, Billy Badass will get Billy blasted by the Seraphine poke down in the bot lane there. Does have the TP, so we'll be able to get back to lane as the Seraphine is out of mana. Okay, we do have the root coming down, trying to get in the range for the Abyssal Dive, but we'll continue to step up and look for it, but not able to, as Leper Koopa is an auto away from their demise here. Does have the egg, Dion. Oh! That would have been embarrassing if they had died there.
That would have been big because looks like we have a little bit of skirmish top, but that would have been big because Leper would have been able to get a double buff, possibly.
Potentially. I don't know if Leper had hit them recently enough. At the very least, it would have given Anivia the ability to control to get that wave in a better spot, force out the TP, although they both have the TP anyways, so
To be
in
fair,
the end, yeah.
a flash auto, you win. You don't even go 1-for-1 because of a Nivea passive.
Yes, so it was, not... Sometimes you forget how long range the towers are. They can snipe you. You have to be wary of that. Maybe do some bot games. See some of those ranges. They did improve the bots. The bots are supposedly better now. They can even jungle, right? It's pretty good.
Yeah,
better
looks
than
yeah.
some players. So
Yeah, taking a turret shot, but we've seen the same thing happen last game where Hyperion is going to be focusing the grubs early on, while Rev decides to go for the first dragon. Dean is pretty on par with Ziggy. It just happened to give up a first blood to the Ari mid, which was
yeah,
you could definitely avoided that, but
yeah, not ideal.
Lee syndrome.
Yeah,
That's what they call it in ARAM.
Yeah, the Lee syndrome. It happens to the best of us. It's why I don't play Lee Sin, because I'm taking it every time. Every time I get Lee Sin in ARAM, it's over for me. I have like 18 deaths. It's not good. Anyways, but looking at this game state right here, Billy Badass actually up in CS now, sort of being able to fight back in this lane at least a little bit here. The Senna has completed Swifty Boots, so that is going to give them a lot of ability to move around this lane, apply a lot of pressure. Booter Scooch hopefully will be able to buy some, get some space for Billy to... ooh, never mind. The Swifties have been swapped out for a Serrated Dirk. Did get nerfed slightly. A lot of these component items got nerfed slightly. -5 AD, but you aren't necessarily buying Dirk for the AD. You buy it because it's one of the best items in the game. It builds into a bunch of good items, and it's really good to get. So
I think that is definitely the better purchase here.
yeah.
Buying boots early, you don't have a lot of trading potential anymore.
Okay,
Especially...
Dino's gonna have to try and fire back. Sorry to interrupt you here, but Moonlight's going to be in a little bit of danger. The Abuso Dive's going to go in. Moonlight, 2 stacks from the Thomas. Will get stunned up here by the next Q, but firing back a lot of damage here as Billy doesn't pop the Greyheld shield. Will get taken down. Now it's Hilla is trying to fire back here. Here comes the Elastic Slingshot. Booter Scooch going to get one, but Dino is going to go down. And now the Anivia has arrived. Leper Koopa is going to have to flash, but there's almost nothing in the tank right here. And Dion is arriving with the Spirit Rush, looking to blast away the wall and blast away Booter Scooch right here. Here comes the Elastic Slingshot, looking to just use that Zac passive to get some safety. No! The dive goes sideways as nearly all of Hyperion are limping away with nothing to their name, and Attila's gonna greed for an award here. Ooh, not quite enough range on the Abyssal Dive, although it will go on to Ziggy. The Abyssal Dive will be on that Zac, who will just walk away. Dino approaching, will not find anyone.
Yeah, there's no way that bot lane fight should have lasted as long as it should have. Moonlight got away pretty much with Murder surviving for a lot longer. It just felt like a lot of the team of Hyperion. Oh, close. Madness almost took that Indigo, but
ooh,
oh, well, that's close again. But yeah, it just felt like no one was doing enough damage to just take down Moonlight, and just gave enough time for Ziggy and Dion to come bot lane and clean up the fight.
Yeah, they just really... honestly, it was kind of surprising how they weren't able to close that out. I think they were trying to get it onto a better target. Like, they were like, oh, we gotta give this... Who do we give this kill to? Do we give it to Senna? Do we give it to... the Lee Sin? Who do we give this kill to? And then she just kept clicking her buttons and healing, and not a whole lot you can do. The Abyssal Dive will get the knock-up onto Seraphine. She does have the Encore. She will get devoured by Thomas here, as she's going to be in a sticky situation. Here comes the Encore, going to get dodged away by Booter Scooter right here. But, ooh, the damage! The Greyheld shield not popped once again, as now Attila will be hunting right here for another double kill. The Ashe is on the other foot this game, And it is looking
Huge
very
auto the minion
promising.
right there.
Yeah.
So, it just a little bit, just mistakes after mistakes on his bot side of the map, and
hmm
it just feels like this lane. You see Attila being 3-0, it could have been completely swapped to the other side, but aggressive play by Dion Atlas right here.
Yeah, Dion is going to be Spirit Rushing. Does have a lot of CDR on the RA champion. Likely will be going for the Malignance first, is what RA has been picking up very frequently. Just getting like the 30-second Spirit Rush cooldown. Very strong, especially in the mid stages of the game when nobody else really has that much mobility yet. Maybe on their cooldowns are just a little too low. Indigo looking to get a trade here. Stays pretty even as Madness is very tanky, but yeah, as we were looking at that bot lane, it's really just not gone well. They just, for some reason, it feels like they should be getting these kills, but they just aren't.
Yeah, they just don't. uh, it might be a little bit because of just I would say unfamiliarity. It's just,
Lack of comfort on
I don't
this
even say lack
duo.
of comfort. It just it just looks very awkward in these fights, right?
Maybe. I wonder how much Tom Kench Billy Badass has played. Because he's either using his Grey Held Shield way too early, or he's just like not clicking it at all. And that's one of Tom Kench's big survivability points, is his ability to build a lot of HP, get that Grey Held Shield, and basically have two huge health bars that the enemy has to chew through. And
Yeah.
he's never really popped it in a
Look
situation
what's
where it could save
happening.
him. Here come the Elastic Slingshot. Ooh, Wonder Shot from the Enchanted Crystal Arrow there. Just narrowly misses Billy Badass and Booter Scooch. As Dion is now going to be walking down, Dean O is going to be on the other side of the wall. Will land the Q, doesn't go through. The Elastic Slingshot's getting charged. Will go in onto Dino right here. The Leper Koopa is around. Here comes the Encore. It's landing on a 2. What's going to be the damage? Dino's having to limp away right now, but he's going to be... Oh, that could have been dangerous right there. As the damage is going to come down from Leper Koopa. Shut down. Now Moonlight going to get slowed up by the Tahm Kench Q. Dino on the front, on the top of that fight. Walking into Ziggy as Ziggy's going to pop him right there. Billy Badass not landing the slow from the Tongue Lash as Ziggy's going to walk away. That's a 1-for-1 around the Drake, but the HP bars are not in favor of Hyperion, and both teams will simply leave the Drake for another day.
Yeah, Dino actually walking back closer to the fight just was unnecessary. Just way too low at that point where you need to just reset. You can't really do anything. If you're going to do anything, maybe try to heal up from some camps, but there weren't any camps available.
No, there really wasn't a whole... There was no reason for him to be there, honestly. It... Like, the dashing back in at 0 HP just to, W to your teammate, like, that's funny. I do it in ARAM. Keep in mind, 18 deaths. So, you gotta just... It's at some point, you just have to realize, I don't have any HP. What am I doing with my life? And recall. But we could see another fight here. Dion does have the Spirit Rush, does have the Flash. Ziggy is... Ooh,
He's gonna steal it, yeah.
The Zachary classic right there.
Everyone knows that's a thing. So, like, how do you not play against that?
Yeah, it just looks like they didn't necessarily consider that as a possibility, or...
I mean, you have 2 wards in your pocket as a center, right? You ward over the wall because you need to get vision on the possibility, especially because Zach can just pull out a great heist, take dragon just like that. And instead, they just go for the dragon and let that pretty much go as... I don't even say a 50-50. I think Zach gets the upper hand at that. Wait, no, it's a Lee Sin. Hold up.
Oh, wait a minute. Billy Badass going to be jumping in right now, but who else is jumping in? It is the Elastic Slingshot of Booter Scooch, as a ton of damage is coming on to Billy Badass. It's the shield's going to go out, but the gray health is not enough. The Encore flies to nobody, but Booter Scooch is at no HP, not able to stick around in this lane any longer. We occasionally get like a
Bro.
vision of top lane, and we get to see two players at like half HP, but neither of them with any kill threat, just
I'm
sitting
gonna
there.
I'm gonna kind of look back on game one. We saw Billy Badass play super aggressive, but they were so
Mhm,
fed on the Ashe that it didn't really matter. This game, they're
mhm.
playing super aggressive and they're so far behind that it does matter. There's
Yes.
no reason for them to take that aggressive fights knowing that your jungler's not even there. So you know it's gonna be a 2-on-2, maybe even a 2-on-3, which happened in the bot lane right there. You're just gonna get wiped, and you're just feeding kills to Attila at this point.
Yeah, especially when you can kind of assume that the encore is up. At that point, you know, if you're timing flashes, both Attila and Moonlight had flash. So it really was just kind of. It feels like we're getting really desperate here for 16 minutes into the game. Uh, we don't need to play this aggressive, as Dino could have found something onto Attila, will get the long-range jump, but a jump too far, as that is just going to be Attila picking up another kill here, another unstoppable Ashe in this
Yeah,
series,
and
as
they're not strong enough to do that either. It feels like they feel
the
like
bit.
they're on the back foot and need to make a play, but they have an Anivia, they have a Senna, and going back to Senna, the amount of stacks, let's see, 39 stacks on the Senna, which is
Not good.
pretty bad at 17 minutes in the game. So
Oh my
a lot of
god.
these fights, a lot of these forced fights, is just causing a lot more late game issues that even if you get the late game, it's gonna be
Yeah.
really unfortunate.
Yeah, it's gonna be very unfortunate here, and it kind of feels like they may have forgotten that like the game reset. They don't have the items from the previous game because they're playing like they have a
Yeah,
huge lead, but they just don't have items. They don't have damage yet. They have a composition that needs to come online, and only really Leper Koopa is playing like it this game, and Madness as well. But Madness is playing farming simulator up in top lane with Indigo, so
yeah.
it's a very slow lane.
It almost feels like the majority of Rev is just ego checking Hyperion, and they're just like, we're not gonna have any of that. And oh, see what happens top lane.
You could see something here. Madness is getting the
I mean, Booty
speed
Scooch is
boost.
5 levels below.
Yeah, Boost
Indigo.
Scooch very low here. Very little damage as well, with no completed items in pocket. And Indigo just walks away without really feeling the pain. As mid lane will get pushed in, but they could be a little bit too far forward. There is a bit of vision, so we'll see that this gank is coming. Will they be able to respond to it? Dino will get stunned by the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. He is certainly toast. Good jump from Ziggy right there. Stunning up and taking down Dean. Oh,
I don't even get
and
the turn.
and at no HP, 9 HP, this turret stands tall. A harsh breeze could knock that turret down right now, and it still stands.
Yep. And the funny thing in bot lane is that Billy Badass does have a CS lead on Attila, even though Attila's 5-0.
Yeah,
But oh,
yeah. You know, do you really need minions when you can just farm your opponent? 6-0 on the Ashe right here. Attila getting another one. The turret has been taken.
yeah.
Anivia came in to breathe on that turret, took it down. That is an objective going over to Rev here, as the next Drake will get picked up by Hyperion, and they are certainly in a commanding position this game, as the Purple Worm will be coming up soon, and Ashe is honestly in a very good spot to look to get an early take on it.
Yeah. The big thing about this game, right? A lot of these deaths that occurred for Rev could have been avoided.
Yeah.
Um, Bot lane playing way too aggressive, trying to look for kills, could have been avoided. Dean's plays, a lot of them were initiated by him. It's not like he was getting caught out most of the times. Could have been avoided as well. You have the Nivea, you have the Senna. There's no reason to just play like your life depends on it, where you can just play it very slow. We know how difficult it is to play against an Anivia, and siege against an Anivia, but they're not going to even let that happen. Leper is not going to be able to get to the point where they can just wave clear and basically waste the entire time of Hyperion.
Yeah, it's gonna get to. That's theoretically what can happen, you know. And if he is the classic champion that wave clears forever, aside from a Baron up minion wave, and even then, once she has enough damage and items, she can definitely do that. So it's just gonna be like you can get there, but they aren't taking the time. They aren't playing to their composition strengths, and they're getting kind of punished for it this game. Just so much unnecessary aggression as the Enchanted Crystal Arrow goes wide. Dino gonna try and help Billy Badass fight Indigo here, but honestly, I don't like their odds, all things considered.
They don't have damage, and now you show your jungler bot side, so that's an immediate Baron start. And with how far away Dino is, this is probably going to go down without Dino actually getting there.
Yeah, Dino is walking up. Dion is hiding there, waiting to see. Yeah, and that is just going to be recalls clicked by the side of Rev as the first Baron falls to the side of Hyperion with just really just a lot of struggling by Rev this game.
Yeah. I do have to hand it to Moonlight this game. It's definitely a big flip of what happened game one. It felt like Moonlight wasn't even the game. But in this one, they were able to hit a lot of good encores, getting get good vision down. Dion definitely playing better as well. I don't expect in game three. I don't see a Lee Sin coming out.
I don't think we pick Lee Sin in
Catch
game
either.
3. Yeah, I think we maybe pick some real champions.
I mean, Tom Kench is 100% a real champion. Can they play it?
That's a different question.
Maybe
not this game. Not this game.
Not this game. Maybe they just don't know their power, how strong they are. Maybe they don't know they can just go 2v2 against a fed ass Ashe.
Yeah, maybe they haven't figured out that you don't actually have to fight the entire game. You can just play slowly if you need to. But either way, the siege begins as Indigo is in the bot side here. Minions are marching in the mid lane as here comes the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Here comes the Elastic Slingshot. Ton of CC down on the Billy Badass. Not even going to be able to pop that Grey Hell Shield. Never mind, does get it. But here comes the Encore. Booter Scooch didn't get tagged, but still went in anyways. Dion gonna be very low here. Here comes the Elastic Slingshot. Zach does have passive. Gonna be bouncing around. Let's bounce. Attila gonna get a ton of damage right here on the back right now. That is an egg being turned into an omelet by the side of Hyperion. And there really is not a whole lot left to say. The respawn timers are not too long, but where is your wave clear is the question. We'll have to see. Booter Scooch getting a little bit of damage. Here comes TP from Dion.
My KDA!
From Indigo.
Madness, no!
Alright, the KDA will be preserved by Madness as Indigo will get this next turret, and it's just going to be a matter of right-clicking this Nexus, not getting too greedy, and taking a 23-minute victory. What an impressive showing from Hyperion.
Is that a high impressive showing? They played well. But I think Rev shot themselves more times than they had to the point where Hyperion could just basically just walk down mid and win the game.
Yeah, I feel like there are some secret agents on the side of Rev. Like that was definitely a questionable game from them. I would imagine at the very least that's the kind of game where you play so badly that it doesn't even affect you. It's like, well, I mean, we just sucked, and we move on to the next one. So
yeah, but Ashe, there's 2 games in a row where Ashe popped off, and now with Rev getting blue side, does Ashe get banned?
That's a good question. It'll come down to whether or not Hyperion wants to give up their mid lane bans. They did take away the Jax from Dino, and considering the second choice was apparently Lee Sin, That was a good ban. So it was good idea, folks. That aside, I think it wouldn't surprise me to see a mid lane ban dropped for the Ashe. I still think maybe we take down the 2 mid laners, leave up the Anivia again. It didn't look like it was super useful in this game, but
I mean, they didn't get to the point where
they didn't get a chance to get there. This is a
Which-
23-minute one.
Yeah, I think Leopard did play pretty solid. Like, they got to the point where they could start doing a lot. The only issue was the rest of the team was so far behind and just gave up kill after kill to the point where Leopard wasn't able to do much.
Yeah, every single player on the side of Hyperion has more gold than the entirety of REV. So everybody was poor that game for REV's team. But again, I will say from a perspective of somebody who has played and has had games like that in comp, you just got to move on. It's like, well, we didn't have a chance anyways. We tossed it so quickly, so we move on to the next one, mentally reset, figure out what you can do on blue side for game 3. So good performance from Hyperion. Rev has a lot to clean up for game 3. We'll see if they can do it once we get to the draft. So stick around. We'll see what they can do after the break. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Game 3 of the series between Rev Eternal and Hyperion Gaming. 1-1 right now, as both teams had pretty confident and dominating performances in their respective blue side games. Rev is back on the blue side. Ashe, woman of the hour this series, so we'll see who gets the Ashe if they decide to play it at all, if it gets banned, what bans will be taken away here. So Hyperion gonna have to make a choice here if they decide that maybe Ashe is too high priority. No, they
Oh,
will
wow.
stick with the Jax.
Yeah, so they're just gonna let that through. Taliyah. So Taliyah first pick. Honestly, I'm very surprised about that.
Yeah, especially because you give over Ashe, who has been pretty instrumental in this series.
Yeah.
And even then, presumably, like, REV's mid laner, Leper Koopa, is going to be playing more, like, if you're going to pick a mid laner, wouldn't you want to get the Anivia that was, like, pretty high priority in
I
terms
think it's
of...
actually jungle Taliyah. Dean
Could be
plays quite a bit. After
Okay.
my extensive research during the break, I wanted to see how much Dean played. Which champions they played. They play a lot of Lee Sin. I'd say that's probably a bad game for them, but they're definitely not going to go towards that again. Maybe this Taliyah is going to be a flex pick. Billy Badass, on the other hand, does not play top catch. So
Yeah,
that's where
what a
they did
shock.
not realize
I
how
couldn't
aggressive
believe
he
it.
played.
I had no idea. I couldn't tell. They looked
So
like a
Hyperion.
master of the champion.
Ashe Rel, and that could very easily be a Rel jungle. It could be support as well. So they're gonna keep that in their pockets to see what's happening with that. I miss a good old days of League of Legends where there weren't a lot of flex picks.
Yeah, you know, when you saw a flex, it was all very, very exciting. Like, ooh, what could you see here? But no, it's
Ooh, Cassandra.
everybody's flexing these days. So, Cassante will get picked up. That is not a flex. That is absolutely going to be going to the top side. I doubt it will go mid. Technically, it has. But okay, we're throwing the gauntlet. Gauntlet has been thrown. Vayne has been selected. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, kind of a interesting pick. Gwen.
Yeah. I mean, into Ashe, it's certainly not good. You're gonna struggle quite a lot on the going into the vein. You're going into the Ashe's vein because you just kind of get shot constantly.
Yeah. I mean,
And
obviously, if it's a 1v1, then you're fine. Like later in the game, 1v1 Vayne murder Ashe, but like Gwen is like Sante. Gwen is just such an obnoxious champion, especially later in the game. They do so much damage, and especially what kind of comp right now Rev is running. The side lanes, Gwen is just gonna go kind of rampant.
Yeah, Gwen will certainly be able to tear things up this game unless there is some other kind of threat that she'll have to deal with at some point. Right now, it doesn't really look like it. Although I will say, you know, the tiny rocks on the ground from Taliyah will cause a bit of, I guess, consternation more than anything else. Gwen will have to deal with the tiny rocks in fights, assuming Gwen's even there. She might not even show up to the fights, so we'll have to see how they decide to play that out as more mid laners get banned away from Eternal's mid. So Leper Koopa does still have some options if they decide to make that a jungle Taliyah. Right now, Hyperion is kind of just trying to figure out what they want to do, hovering in terms of their blind, I guess. What they decide to blind here. There is so much flexibility with all of the champions in this game. Irelia is interesting.
This is
Where
a
are we
very
sending?
hard
Where are we sending
go-in comp.
this?
Yeah, I'm actually surprised about that. Because they are just gonna play into Rev. Rev could draft a comp very easily, especially because you have a Taliyah, where you have these hard go-in champions. You could kind of with these last two picks create a comp that counters that.
Oh, okay. Vex. There are a lot of there. I feel like Irelia just like eats Vex alive. Like she devours that champion, right? Like
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I played a game where I was playing Vex and I played against Irelia, and yeah, it's not good. Irelia just actually destroys Vex. So
and we have picked our support for the Vayne with the Lulu. So this is interesting, and Hyperion Hyperion are going to make this Vayne suffer. Vayne will be miserable this game. There's no hope. There's no hope for Vayne. I am. Ooh, okay. I'll pass it to you. What are you thinking?
um, they're going for a lot of these like try to protect Vayne. I think the Vex was picked because they're like, oh, if they come into this is like a massive fear. But a champion where I think that it might have been sleeper broken on this rev comp would have been Zillion.
Okay.
But I don't really see that come out very often.
Yeah, Zillion is certainly a very fascinating champion. I would say into especially the Irelia,
Mhm.
you can make her very sad because she goes in, you slow her instantly, and you walk away, and what's she gonna do about it? You clear waves endlessly. So that's certainly not a terrible pick. Honestly, I think from where Rev was, they kind of just, with their first 3 picks, already kind of screwed themselves. Because
It's very interesting to pick, especially picking the Vayne early is kind of you know how Vayne plays. It's a very low range champion. It's a late game hyper carry, so you kind of know how Rev wants to build around it later on. Wants to play some kind of protect Vayne support.
Mhm.
I think a big thing in this is I don't know what counters Leopard has against an Aurelia. I know he used to be a major control mage player. I know he used to play a lot of Renekton, which actually would go very well against that Aurelia, but I don't know how confident they are anymore with that.
Yeah, Irelia is certainly a wrench thrown into a lot of control mage players' champ pools. There's just not a lot you can do with most of those champions. I'd say like your best bet would be to like just pick Ari and pray, but they banned Ari, so that wasn't ever going to be in the cards.
I mean, Talia actually does well against Aurelia, but I think they were just dead set on taking Talia jungle.
Yeah, and at that point, if you've already committed to sending your Talia jungle, why bother picking it so early? Like, what's the point of the flex if you're not actually gonna flex it? I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of funky stuff going on with Rev's comp, but I will say I've seen weirder. So, and I've seen weirder win.
I
Especially
don't think Leopard actually plays Talia, if I'm not mistaken. So that's probably
okay.
why.
Okay, I suppose that makes sense. Either way, I'm not gonna ask which comp you think is better this game. Uh, I feel like that's kind of a. I mean, what do you think? How are you feeling?
I'm pretty sure Hyperion's comp is just much better. They have. I feel like they're going to be a little bit more cohesive. I do think Rev does have a lot of damage, a lot of ways to just run away with the game.
Mhm.
Especially if like we don't really know how good Dion Atlas is on this Aurelia. I don't really see Aurelia played much in gold. But let's say Leopard gets fed on this Vex. This Vex will one shot the Seraphine, will one shot the Ashe, and it's very hard counter to play because you just go in, you immediately fear them. So it's not like they could get any type of CC out before you're dead.
Yeah, there is certainly potential for the Vex, especially to start blowing up some of these squishy targets, and even if she doesn't kill them, Vayne can clean up. So there is potential. Again, I feel like the Rev's comp has potential. And if it's something where they have a lot of comfort, maybe they win just through that comfort they have. It doesn't look good. I wouldn't say I'd bet on this composition, but I have seen comps like this win, especially at this level of play. Sometimes comfort is the most important thing you need. So
Yep.
We'll see if that comfort will be enough to claim the series, or if Hyperion has found the winning composition. So stick around, we'll see what the result is after our break. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Game 3 of our Blue Otter League Gold series between Rev Eternal and Hyperion Gaming. Rev on the blue side, Hyperion on the red side. I'm Becky. Joining me is Bully, the boss Bully, with owls clicking buttons. So we have a pretty I wouldn't say a back and forth. It's a back and forth series, but these games have been very dominant. With blue side taking two very commanding victories in games 1 and 2. And now with the blue side advantage, perhaps, Rev has
I know.
assembled a
I think it's an Ash advantage in my opinion.
It could be an Ash advantage more than anything. But Rev has assembled a very fascinating composition that we have a lot of eyes, at least from, some raised eyebrows, will be watching this game with anticipation to see exactly what is this team cooking, and will it be worth their while?
Yep. And Dean working that ground, just getting an earlier clear. But with the looks like Ziggy is gonna start top side, no leash, and you might see a buff to buff Gromp to a gank from Ziggy.
I guess it wouldn't be too surprising. Rel's early clears in generally are already pretty slow, so you might as well just slower comparatively to other junglers at least. So you might as well just do what you can and get an early gank off, because Rel is very good at getting early ganks off, especially from the jungle. So something for Ziggy to consider. However, it looks like it's just going to be a regular old clear. We'll see where they go after the Krugs, and yeah, it looks like they are just going to take a regular clear here. This Moonlight gets a ton of damage already onto Booter Scooch, with Attila providing some supportive fire from those Ashe auto attacks. But this bot lane is something that we are going to be watching this game very intently, because Billy Badass has picked a very comfortable champion in the Vayne. However, Vayne is not a champion who is very comfortable into these kind of lanes, so we'll have to see.
And I'm surprised the Seraphine actually went through. I feel like the Seraphine caused a lot of issues last game, and for Moonlight to get it again with the Ashe, it's going to be very hard for Billy Badass and Buddha Scooch to play in this lane.
Yeah, Billy Badass absolutely just going to be looking to play as slow as possible, I would say. Already, just kind of sitting back at turret, they lost a little bit of damage onto that first plate. I wouldn't be surprised to see them trade away a couple of plates this early in the game, Not the end of the world if they drop a couple, just as long as Vayne can safely start reaching those item breakpoints that they need the champion to get. As Ziggy and Dino continue to have their, sort of mirrored clears here in the game, but Leper Koopa could be looking to try and trade something onto Dio, and Dino is going to flash forward. Seismic Shove is going to get flashed by Dio and Atlas, as now Ziggy's walking up, but is dismounted, so will not be able to crash down into the enemies here, or remount to flip them back. So flashes getting blown, a trade of flashes between Dino and Dion. We'll see what that amounts to.
The top side, man, is taking pretty solid trades against Indigo, but is going to run low on mana. Remember how Cassandra used to have basically no mana cost on that Q? And
15 mana cost Q.
Yeah. Probably the most ridiculous thing ever.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I want to see if Hyperion actually looks to play for the first Void Grubs, like they've done for the most part of both Game 1 and Game 2. They are spawning relatively soon. Bot side, even though Attila and Moonlight have been, pressuring Billy Badass and Buddha Scooch off these waves, they are pretty even on CS.
Yeah, and I would say that's definitely good from Billy to keep up with CS here. Now, Ziggy might be looking for something on a Madness. Madness out of mana. Leper Koopa gonna be dove on here, but the HP bars are low, and that's just gonna be a Leper Koopa landing that Q right through the heart of Dio and Atlas.
Oh, we're gonna get a meet and greet at Void Grubs when Dino
Yes.
and Ziggy meet on this.
Okay,
And,
we have one Grubbin left for Dean to pick up as Ziggy will take the first two. So that is a split first round of the Grubbins. Now both junglers going to be starting to head down towards that Drake. And we'll see which one of these bot lanes will be in a better position to help out with it. Probably going to be Hyperion, but we'll have to see.
Oh, Indigo hits level 6.
Okay, Indigo looking for a fight here. Needlework's going to be going out, piercing the backside of Madness. The slow is going to land, and the Ghost from Madness will allow the dodging of that Needlework. However, the HP bar is still pretty low. Level 6 from Cassante here. Dino is walking up, does have the ground prepared, and here comes the flip back. Here comes the KO from Dino, as that will just be a kill given over to the Talia, and the trade on the bot side is the first Drake.
It's going to be Dragon, but I don't think that's a big deal at all. You get the kill top, you get a kill on Dino, and I don't think you really want to contest this anyway with the early game Vayne. But Dragon is going to go over. You already have Leopard getting pretty strong. You have top lane actually going pretty well for Madness. So now you just got to take your fights very strategically and not just try to, bum rush, Attila, try to kill him and then all die under tower.
Yeah, we saw that happen quite a lot of over-aggression from REV last game. So hopefully this game we can see a little bit more of a smart usage of their abilities, smart aggression rather than reckless aggression in this game. As, it is certainly good to see Leper Koopa get that kill on to Dion. That is something that now that the Irelia is level 6, past level 6, it'll be a lot harder to get those kinds of kills, and Leper is going to have to be a little bit safer in this lane. Dion is keeping up in farm pretty well, too, so it's certainly not the end of the world for this Irelia. Here comes the Weaver's Wall as Dino looking to get a flip onto Moonlight here. 2 flashes over the Weaver's Wall, and that will be a great gank from Dino.
Yep, that's pretty big. Just for a small investment of your time getting both flashes. Now, if Attila missteps with both Ghost and Flash down, that should just be a kill. I don't think Leper had to flash there.
Yeah, Leper does flash out of the Irelia ulti. So that will just be a little bit of safety there, but we'll have to see if that amounts to anything. This Irelia ulti is a pretty short cooldown, so will come up reasonably quickly in the next minute or so. So once that comes back up, we could see a potential dive coming in, or at least an aggressive play coming out from Dion.
Yeah, in that fight top lane, I think Madness could have, if the all-out was available, which I think either was a split second off or it was available, I think Madness could have taken that fight and actually killed Indigo right there.
Potentially, for sure. We do have a flip coming back. Indigo not immune while Madness is in the Hallowed Mist. So Talia is up there. No Hallowed Mist to protect Indigo. Doesn't have Ghost, doesn't have any safety. The Needlework's going to come out, the stun's going to land, but Madness isn't quite in range to flip him back, and now Ziggy's going to be here, arriving, as the Needlework's going to pierce the backside of Dino. Here comes the Magnet Storm, pulling them together, but now Madness is going to play a little bit mad, a little bit angry, a little bit aggressive, clapping Indigo right there, as now Ziggy is just going to have to waltz away from this one. But on the bot side, we have the Encore coming out as the exhaust is going to land onto Attila. Billy Badass is trying to reckon this team right here. The piercing silver bullets will claim one, but Moonlight trades back, and now Attila turned into a cuddly critter, but this critter is angry. The wild growth for moral support is only going to do so much, as Booter Scooch will go down as well.
I'm not sure why Booter Scooch actually went back to try to get the polymorph onto Attila. When they had Flash, they could easily get flashed out, and it would have been 1-for-1. On top of that, it would have been 1-for-1, Billy Badass would get the kill, and Moonlight got the kill. So it'd been actually a good trade for Rev. But instead, Buddha Scooch went back and tried to get the Polymorph onto Attila, giving Attila more time to just chase down Buddha Scooch.
Yeah, there were plenty of other ways that I think Buddha Scooch could have stayed alive there. I didn't see what level they were at during that fight because that wild growth that they
level
use.
6.
Okay.
Yeah.
I figured like there's no world you don't wild growth your vein to keep them alive if you have it, unless you're actively griefing. So I feel like yeah, it makes sense that they did not have it during that fight. They picked it up. But yeah, giving over that extra kill, kind of just an unnecessary, what we call an unforced error coming out from Booter Scooch, but still getting a kill into the pocket of the Vayne is not the end of the world as Dion just landing a bunch of stuns, but taking a ton of return fire right here from the Vex.
Dragon control is going to go over to Rev. They're getting control of the pit, taking the scuttle, and wow, he just kind of walked up in there. And...
Ziggy walked up.
Wait a minute.
Yes, Ziggy does have the Magnet Storm.
Oh,
they're getting flipped around. They're getting taken for a ride right here. But here comes the stun from Dion. The Placidium is remembered right here, but the Polymorph is even more memorable as Attila's going to try and run down Bruder Scooch. Attila in the middle of the fight. Here comes the Encore to try and provide a little bit of support, but Billy Badass is going to be able to claim that one. Indigo will chip away, snipping down the Vayne, but Leper Koopa is doing enough in this fight to clean up and get a lot of kills back.
You know, Ziggy did his best just to int that fight away. Billy Badass actually saved them with the Condemn for enough time that they needed to chase down Ziggy, and the fight became a little bit too close, and eventually it was a 3-4 in favor of Rev. But wow.
Yeah, I understand what Ziggy was doing at the start there, because they did have Magnet Storm. They could have found something there, so now Nino is going to walk in. It does have the Weaver's Wall. It's not going to cut off anyone else, but Dion could be in a lot of danger. Going to get condemned into the wall. Doesn't quite have the stun, doesn't have the ulti. Will just get run down by the Ashe here as Leper Koopa's on a rampage. Now, this is going to be a 4v3, but these three members are pretty dangerous. Ziggy doesn't have the Magnet Storm quite yet, doesn't have the Flash, doesn't have anything. Waiting to get the crash down, will get flipped away, but wins the flip on the Drake! 32 HP on that bad boy, goes over to Ziggy.
Yeah, that's crazy. The funny thing is the knock away made Leper Koopa miss their Q, and which would have killed Ziggy.
Yeah.
And wow. But they still get one back, but 2 dragons in the hands of Hyperion.
Yeah, and this is a Mountain Drake too. So if this team can get those Mountain Shields, it'll be a lot harder for Vex to do what she wants to do, and Dion getting a ton of damage right here, but here comes Dino looking to try and finish this one out. Here comes the dash in from Leper Koopa. Will get that execute with the help of Dino. So that will just be another kill onto the Irelia. This pick, which honestly we thought would be performing a lot better, has just seemed a little bit rough this game.
Well, theoretically it should perform better, right?
Yeah, theoretically.
But it's all. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
The all-out comes out, and you know, Indigo has to actually be careful. I think Indigo dies here.
Wait, yeah, Indigo just dies. Oh no! The Tonfa slam doesn't quite slam into Indigo, and they skip away at just barely under 100 HP, getting that level up to get to around 200. But man, Cassante, you love tanks, right? You like tanks that also destroy your HP bar? Isn't it awesome? Yeah. I feel like Cassante has not been a balanced champion since release. Okay, Ziggy is in a lot of danger. The Condemn's going to go into the wall. Moonlight is here, but it's going to actually be
re-engage right here. Billy Badass needs to be careful.
Yeah, it's actually going to be a lot of danger right here. Here comes the stun, here comes the encore, here comes the magnet storm, but there's just not enough. Vane's stealth from the tumble is actually going to be more than enough here, but here comes Leather Koopa. Will try and get something back, but there's no damage landing onto the priority targets. Ziggy takes some damage, and they will still, the side of Hyperion will still pick up their prize of the Lulu.
I'm not sure why you walk back in there. The minute you see Ziggy, you know it's going to be a possibility of a 3v2, and Ziggy would be able to hard engage on top of you. And they just decided to take the risk, and they got totally burned for it.
Yeah, maybe they thought that Leper Koopa would be down there faster, and they were hoping to just try and get the surprise turnaround, but in the end, I will say, good stuff from Billy Badass staying alive. That could have gone a lot worse. The stealth from the final hour tumble actually was very huge. You don't think about the stealth from final hour until it like matters in that situation. It's like, oh wow, wait, did I?
It matters when you play against it because you're like, where did this Vayne go for like
Where's
6 hours?
Where's the stupid Vayne champion? She's only stealth for like 0.5 seconds, but she stealths for 0.5 seconds every 2 seconds, right? It's great. As the Magnet Storm is not up, but Ziggy is still walking forward. Herald will get crashed into mid, and that will be the first turret for the side of... Ooh, that is going to be a wide Irelia ulti. Vex ulti also going to go wide, but this Irelia is taken for a ride right here as the Fears will stop him. Madness is going to be waiting for the CP to complete from Indigo, but Indigo is immune. Will walk away from that one with the Ghost and Home Guard speed. However, it is going to be a 4v5 here in this.
How do you counter immunity? You can't.
You
oh my god, it's a lot of damage.
You just immune them better, you know. You just like pretend it's not real. As the encore is good as Dino gets locked under turret, and now Attila is able to start free firing right here. Booter Scooch gets shredded by the Gwen in this fight here. Now Dion's on the back line, waiting to just get their mark right here, slamming Billy Badass. As now Attila will put those arrows in the back of Madness right here, and only Leper Koopa is left alive, and they do not have a whole lot in their pocket.
Way too aggressive
for
that play, especially with Dragon coming up in about 20 seconds. That'll be the 3rd Dragon for Hyperion. You just don't want to just all in and just try to commit for that tier 2, especially when you have a lot of gold in your pocket. That's just a game-throwing kind of decision right there.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason for them to take that. Like, even if they could siege there, like, your siege damage is coming from Vayne, and Vayne is mid-range, and you're mid-range into Ashe Seraphine, right?
We do have a TP coming in from Leper Koopa. It does have the ultimate, and so that Shadow Surge can do a lot of damage in this kind of team fight.
We'll have to see. The Weaver's Wall is going to go out. The Drake will be claimed by Ziggy, and that wall will only weave a little bit of an annoyance for the side of Hyperion as they pick up their 3rd Drake of the game.
Yeah, and that kind of play where you TP Leper Koopa bot side and you're looking for that kind of, dragon contest, and you just don't make a play off of it, you're just wasting a TP at that point.
Yeah.
You got to make the decision before where I'm going to either contest this dragon or we're just going to give this dragon up. We're going to send somebody top, collect that wave, push in, try to get that tower, get something in return. But instead, we're just going to watch the enemy take a dragon, throw a wall in the middle of them, just to inconvenience them a little bit, and walk away like nothing happened.
Dion's sneaky right here. Oh, there goes the Fear. Leper Koopa doesn't have anything in pocket. That's just going to be a stun going down as the auto attacks are going to fire. Fear is available, but there are no cooldowns available, as that is a shutdown for Dion, which is what we expected to see in this matchup. Finally coming to fruition.
The minute the Fear is down, that gives Irelia just the full all-out potential of killing a Vex. And it didn't happen earlier in the game, but that's 1,000 gold going over to Dion Atlas.
Yep.
And one of the threats that you didn't think was much of a threat early on is now a big game changer, as they have actually the same amount of gold as Leper Koopa.
Yes, it is very close now in gold. Just about a little, actually less than 200 separating the two of them, maybe close to it. As here comes the all-out on to Indigo. Enchanted Crystal Arrow will fly, crashing into Dean O! As that is just gonna be somebody who you didn't think was gonna die, now gonna go down here. But Indigo will get traded back, as now Madness is gonna be on their lonesome, waiting for their buttons to come up, but it's not enough, as Ziggy will claim that one. And the Enchanted Crystal Arrow hits its mark.
Yeah, and I don't think that was actually the mark they were trying to hit. I think they're trying to hit Madness, but it actually hits a better target than Dino, and the Baron is started.
Yeah, and remember, they do have Ashe, so they have quite a lot of shred here. It would be better if they had the Irelia, but Irelia is playing point guard right now. Very dangerous. You can't really step up into the Irelia here as either of those two members because she is able to just kill you. She does have the Sundered Sky, I believe, is the item.
Yeah, I mean, that right there is how important it is for lane assignments. Where we saw the previous play in Dragon Fight, Leopard put TP down to the bot lane to try to contest that dragon. So now they don't have TP. Madness did have TP. And with Baron coming up, you need to send the TP user to the bot lane so you have an ability to push the lane and be at a Baron fight in case they need it. Right there, Leopard Koopa was now in sight. They couldn't TP the Baron, they couldn't try to do anything about it. And Rev knew the Baron was going on. You saw Buddhist Huge kind of walk in, and Irelia kind of met them and pushed them away. So they knew it was happening, but without Leper, they couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, Leper is really kind of the glue for the composition right now, mostly because a lot of this gold for the team is loaded into the Vex here. And a lot of that damage is going to be loaded into what Vex can do, especially as they are still waiting for Billy Badass to assemble those items. We have a lot of bows, so we are doing quite a lot here. We have a lot of attack speed, for sure. I don't remember if the extra bonus damage from the recurve bow stacks. I also don't know, does Terminus build from 2 recurve bows, or what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
I wasn't sure.
The bow build is actually, I see it happen a lot where they're gonna build a lot of items with bows, but just having the 2 bows gives you so much value with the Blade of the Rune King that it's not bad actually to do it.
Okay, and it does build into Terminus, so that is fine. As here comes another stun onto Dino, getting locked down, getting locked up. Magnet Storm is going to be in range. Flash going to go through onto Billy Badass, but on the backside, Leper Koopa's found the mark. As the Exhaust is going to go onto Attila. Booter Scooch going to try and support Leper Koopa here. Billy Badass has arrived, will be in the final hour, but whose final hour is it anyways? Leper Koopa still making the magic happen on the backside of the fight. As Dion's looking to try and get the charge here. The Blade Surge will not surge through Leper Koopa, but Indigo's right there. Will pinch the Vex and claim 4 kills for the side of Hyperion.
Yeah, and, you know, that looked almost like a good play. Leper picked off Attila, picked off Moonlight, but the problem is that it was such a, you know, messed up, scattered fight from Rev that Hyperion was able to pick off everyone. Now they get the Mountain Soul, and with the 2k gold lead, Mountain Soul, it feels like killing this Hyperion team is going to be extremely hard.
Yeah, it is going to be very difficult to pierce this team right here. Irelia, not the tankiest, but still has some melee champion stats. Rel, obviously a very tanky champion. Gwen, as well, has a lot of extra sneaky resistances, so more than anything, I think the shield from Mountain is just going to prevent a lot of this early burst from going through. So Leper Koopa's ability to completely obliterate somebody is going to be shut down so heavily that now this huge win condition they have in terms of Vex getting that kind of sneaky fight, it's going to be a lot harder. And speaking of a sneaky fight, this one is not sneaky at all as an Enchanted Crystal Arrow crashes into Leper Koopa, and that win condition is now on the floor. Not looking good for the side of Rev, although they do pick up a turret, so that's a little bit of golden pocket, but the siege continues in mid.
Yeah, and you know, I gotta look at it, and I'm looking at Dino's items, and decides to go the Storm Surge second on the Talia pick. I'm not a big fan of it. It just feels like it's such an underpowered item where you could have a lot more value with like a Shadow Flame or even a Zanyas in this game. But
Yeah,
Storm
or even
Surge
like
just doesn't feel good.
something like a Malignance, or actually not Malignance, that's a terrible
Wait a
idea.
minute, hold
Yeah,
up.
that's griefing. Like Crypt Bloom, maybe?
Rip Plume is a third item. It's always a third item.
Okay.
Yeah, so usually go to Shadow Flame, I think, on Talia, especially in jungle. The Ionian Boots, I don't think that is the best play in the jungle because I think you're looking more for the burst instead of just having the CDR that is very useful in lane. But in the jungle, you know, you making a play, you want to get a good combo off with a lot of damage. The Sork Shoes just gives you enough penetration for that.
Yeah. I think the idea is maybe they want a bit more utility from the seismic shoves. They want them up as often as possible. So the question is, does that make a difference? Does the extra CDR from Lucidity Boots, does that help you reach a necessary breakpoint to where you're getting off multiple seismic shoves in a fight? But honestly, it could just be like a comfort thing. It does also affect Flash and Smite, so those are a couple of like little things, but honestly, I'm not sure. I don't play enough Talia. I would say I do play some mages in the jungle, mostly Fiddlesticks, and I'm always buying Sork Shoes, so, we'll have to see. As here comes the Weaver's Wall, not enhanced by Malignance. I don't think it ever could be.
Funny thing is Talia jungle a lot of times builds mercs as well, just to make sure they don't get CC'd.
That's not. I would expect that. I think that makes sense. There is a flank here from Leper Koopa. As here comes Ziggy crashing down, gonna get the ulti, the Magnet Storm, and the team to the encore. A ton of damage here. Leper Koopa's gonna be on the backside, but they're gonna be on the backside on their lonesome as now Indigo is shredding through everybody they can. Billy Badass actually doing quite a bit of damage here. The Condemn's going to keep Indigo away as they're just going to tumble away, try and get down as much fire as possible. Blade of the Rune King's going to give some speed, but not enough to get away from the horse, landing on their face as Rel will lock them up, and the kills come through, and it's going to be a confident, clean, and a confident and clean finish to the game for Hyperion.
Yeah, it got to the point where it's impossible to kill everyone because of how tanky they are, especially when you have a Gwen that's a very hard late game champion. I rarely a late game. This Ashe is 10-2. So we go back to the point where, I think Ashe is a difference maker in this series where it feels like it was just so overpowered because they were able to get a lot of picks with it, a lot of value out of it. And, I think if Rev gets this game back, in the draft back, they do not take the Talia B1. I think they take the Ashe.
Yeah, certainly there are a lot of questions we had about the draft. However, I do think that we saw quite a bit of what the draft was doing well in terms of, what Vex can do in the burst before the mountain came online. There was that one really good fight around Drake, where Vex was just able to get on the back line, get all those resets with the Shadow Surge, and start blasting away the wall. But eventually it just started to become a problem of, first of all, how do we kill them? And second of all, how do we get to them? Because even if you dive in, you're going to have to deal with Ashe and Seraphine and their ability to keep themselves safe, which gives plenty of room for Irelia and Gwen to cut down your own backline.
Yeah, it comes to the point where it's like, how well did our comp kind of mesh together? In reality, it didn't. You had a Vayne that was starting to do a lot more damage late game, but your comp, a lot of it was go in. You had a Cassante going all out, trying to kill the carries. You had a Vex trying to assassinate. You had a Talia actually mostly playing with your Vayne, but the only thing to protect you and peel it off of a Gwen, a Rel, a Irelia is a Lulu. So it came a point where it was impossible to peel everyone off because how much damage they had. And then Attila was able to free fire in the back line. They had a lot of damage front line. They could have played front to back. They could played for picks. They could do like a lot of things that they could have done, and it just worked out for Hyperion in the end.
Yeah, it works out for them, and Hyperion will claim the series here in week 3. But I do think it was a good showing from Rev. A good showing in game 1, where they came out swinging, and game 3, I think it was pretty back and forth for a while there, and they just didn't have the pieces to finish the game.
I do think that's going to be a pretty interesting series if both these teams, which I expect them to do, is make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think more than anything, a game like that is one where you can get good info out of it from reviewing it.
Yeah.
Because there are some games where you lose and it's just like, well, we had no hope. Like game 2, reviewing how that game went downhill, it's like, well, all of it was bad. But in game 3, there was enough good to where you can start picking out, okay, here's where we started making mistakes, here's where we could have done things differently. And that, I think, is always good to have, especially for any of these teams trying to really make a push into the later, as the season goes on.
Yeah.
So
it does, I guess a good closing statement is that it is regular season. It's only week 3.
Mm-hmm.
So you live, you learn, and maybe adapt. Maybe there was a weakness that Leper had. It was getting choked out of the control mages, so they got forced onto the Vex. Other control mages might still not fare well, so Irelia might be a champion that they might be afraid of later on.
Maybe. Fortunately, not a lot of people actually play Irelia right now, so
yeah,
it's something you only have to worry about very infrequently. Anyways, with that said, that will be the end of tonight's broadcast of Blue Otter League Gold. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the stream, make sure you follow our Twitter, the Twitter for Blue Otter League. Join the Discord. Get in on the action. Get in on the conversation. Follow the stream. Both Blue Otter League Regular and Blue Otter League 2, this one. If you would like to support is always appreciated. But otherwise, just, come in and watch all of the exciting content. So yeah, I have been Becky with Bully, the boss, and Owls on production. So thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your night.